Imagine you wake up tomorrow with a fever so bad you can barely stand. No Tylenol, no hospital, no pharmacy down the street. Just you, a stone hut, and a body that's on fire. For 99.9% of human history, that wasn't a nightmare. That was just a normal Tuesday. No antibiotics, no painkillers. Nobody even knew germs existed until the 1860s. And yet, somehow, ancient humans were doing things that sound completely insane. They amputated legs, and people survived. They drilled holes into living skulls, and people survived. So how did people with none of our tools keep an entire species alive? That's what we're getting into today. And by the end, you're going to look at the pills in your medicine cabinet completely differently. Here's the number that makes this whole story insane. Germ theory, the idea that tiny invisible organisms cause disease, is only about 160 years old. Before that, every doctor, every healer, every mother taking care of a sick kid was fighting an enemy they couldn't even see. And yet people didn't just survive. Civilizations grew, empires were built, all while working with medical ideas we'd now call straight up wrong. That's not luck. That's thousands of years of trial and error, most of it painful, some of it genius. Let's start with the part almost nobody expects. Watch a sick dog sometime. It stops eating, hides somewhere quiet, and just waits it out. That's not something you taught it. That's instinct, wired in for millions of years. We have the same wiring, but somewhere along the way, our ancestors added a second move. They started picking plants on purpose. And we know this happens in nature because chimpanzees do it too. When a chimp gets sick, it will go find a leaf it normally hates the taste of, swallow it whole, and use the rough texture to literally scrape parasites out of its gut. Other times it'll chew on bitter tree bark that happens to be toxic to the exact parasite making it sick. Nobody taught the chimp that, it just knows. So if a chimp can figure that out, early humans definitely could. Except we had one massive advantage chimps don't. We could talk about it. The moment one person told another person, "Eat this, it helps," medicine stopped being a lucky accident and became something way more powerful, a tradition. One tip passed down could save lives for 100 generations. But that's the easy part. What happens next is where this gets kind of insane. In 2023, archaeologists digging in a cave in Borneo found a skeleton around 31,000 years old. Part of the left leg was gone. Not lost, not decayed, cut off. And here's the detail that changes everything. The bone around the cut had healed. That means the surgery wasn't what killed this person. They survived it, and probably lived for years afterward. Before this discovery, scientists thought surgery like this started a few thousand years ago at most. This pushed the timeline back by tens of thousands of years. In the Ice Age, with stone tools, no anesthesia, no hospital. And it's not a one-off. All over the world, we keep finding skulls with neat, round holes drilled into them. It's called trepanation, and it wasn't an injury. It was on purpose, probably to relieve pressure on the brain or to treat seizures. And here's the wild part. The bone around a huge number of these holes had healed too. People had brain surgery in the Stone Age with sharpened rock and lived. And that's still not even the strangest thing they figured out. Wait until you hear what they were doing with moldy bread. By the time we get to ancient Egypt, around 1550 BCE, there's a document called the Ebers Papyrus. It lists over 700 remedies. Plants, minerals, animal parts, treatments for infections, eye problems, even what sounds a lot like depression. Here's the part that should blow your mind. Some of it actually worked, and they had no idea why. They packed wounds with honey, Turns out honey really is antibacterial. It's too acidic and too dry for most bacteria to survive in, and it even produces a tiny bit of hydrogen peroxide. The Egyptians didn't know any of that chemistry. They just noticed wounds healed faster with it. They fed garlic to the workers building the pyramids by the ton. Garlic genuinely fights bacteria and fungus. They used willow bark for pain, the same plant family aspirin later came from. And in some cases, they pressed moldy bread directly onto infected wounds. That mold sometimes produced compounds close to penicillin, about 3,000 years before Alexander Fleming discovered it and won a Nobel Prize for it. That's not superstition. That's the scientific method. Just running in slow motion across generations instead of a lab. But here's the twist. Knowing what worked was actually the easy part. Surviving the disasters that came from not knowing why, that's a whole different story. Since nobody understood germs, every culture invented its own explanation for illness. The Greeks thought the body ran on 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, and getting sick meant one was out of balance. That belief is the entire reason doctors drained blood from sick patients for over 2,000 years. A practice that probably killed way more people than it saved. Meanwhile, Chinese medicine had the idea of an energy flowing through the body. India had the idea of doshas. Every single one of these theories, scientifically speaking, was wrong. But here's the twist. The theory was wrong, and the treatment sometimes worked anyway. Because ancient healers weren't testing theories, they were testing outcomes. They'd stumble onto something that actually worked, keep doing it, and never bother figuring out why. Wrong model, right result. Now, here's where it gets personal, because this next part is the reason a lot of you are even alive to watch this. Let's be honest about the cost, because it was massive. In most ancient societies, somewhere between 1% and 3% of births ended in the mother's death. And women gave birth multiple times, so that risk kept stacking up. In a lot of ancient populations, close to half of all kids didn't make it to age 5. A cracked tooth could turn into a fatal infection. A small cut could turn septic in days. And once it did, there was almost nothing anyone could do. Sepsis still kills people today, even with antibiotics we didn't have back then. So what did ancient healers actually have in those moments? Not a cure. Presence. Keeping someone warm, giving them water, not leaving them alone. Ancient communities figured that out just by watching. People who were cared for survived more often than people who weren't. The community itself was a form of medicine. And here's the part that should genuinely change how you look at your medicine cabinet. Aspirin, willow bark, morphine, the opium poppy, quinine, the drug that saved millions of people from malaria, bark from a tree used by indigenous healers in South America centuries before anyone in Europe wrote it down. Taxol, one of the biggest cancer drugs on Earth, the Pacific yew tree. The World Health Organization says around 80% of people alive today still rely mainly on plant-based medicine for their health care. Not because they've never heard of a hospital, because that knowledge, tested for tens of thousands of years, actually works. Every time a pharmaceutical company discovers a new drug hiding in a rainforest plant, they're not really discovering anything. They're just catching up to something a healer somewhere already knew. So next time you pop an ibuprofen for a headache and forget about it 30 seconds later, remember what's actually standing behind that pill. A Neanderthal chewing bitter bark 60,000 years ago. An Egyptian pressing honey into an open wound. Someone who drilled into a living human skull with a piece of flint and somehow, impossibly, got it right. They didn't have our tools. They just refused to stop paying attention. If this messed with your head a little, You're going to want to see what ancient people figured out about the human mind next, because it's even stranger than what they knew about the body. Let me know in the comments which one you want first. If you want more stories like this, please subscribe.